I am on the Norwegian cruise line Breakaway, and we are currently at St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Tonight is Purim. What is Purim? I'm sure mostly all of you know that it was in the country of Persia, in the city of Shushan, where we find Mordecai and Esther, better known as Hadassah, in her land, as the queen of the Persian Empire, married to King Ahasuerus. His prime minister, of course, was Haman, a horrible man. Haman decided to kill all the Jews. Esther went before the king and told her what was going on, and she took her life in her hands by doing so, because that wasn't permitted, to just walk up to the king and even for his wife to tell him things like this. But the king loved Esther and listened to her, and he had already signed with his signet ring the edict to kill all the Jews. So he can't now change that. Once you sign an edict with your ring, it has to be enforced. So what he did, he told Mordecai to tell the Jews to go ahead and win, that this is going to happen, and to go ahead and win this war against Haman's army, which of course they did. Now, today, we notice in the same place, in the same area in the world, we have a Haman who was just killed. The Haman in the Book of Esther and the Megillat Esther was hanged to death. He died. The Haman in Iran also died at the hands of Israel. There are so many things that are similar about the story of Esther and the story of Iran that it almost boggles the mind. Will Israel and the United States defeat Iran and make the world a better place without those horrible terrorist monsters, the chief funder of terrorism in the world, eliminated? Do I need to ask the question? It's an obvious answer. It's rhetorical. Of course. There are so many articles being written about this today. It's almost mind-boggling. And yet there are people standing up and saying this shouldn't have happened. We shouldn't be doing this. Ridding the world of evil is not something we shouldn't be doing? I don't understand. I do understand there are a lot of people that dislike the President of the United States. I know that. And I don't judge people for that. I don't judge people for liking the President of the United States. It's not that important if you like the President or not. It really doesn't matter. What does matter is the President has been the best friend to Israel that it ever had. But more importantly, would 9/11 have ever happened if Iran did not exist the way it does today? And then, would it have ever happened? Very unlikely. So think about this. The world doesn't need a terrorist state. It doesn't need a terrorist state. And anyone who says it does, I really do judge them very badly. And if our president has anything to do with eliminating that terrorist state, that is worthy of praise. Again, you don't have to like our president. You don't have to. You can dislike him. You can still dislike him. But you got to admit that sometimes people do things that are worthwhile, even if you don't like them. So keep that in mind. As I say, have an enjoyable Purim, have a very nice Purim, and remember, hopefully, our world will soon become a much better place in which to live because the terrorist funder of the world is no longer. Chag Sameach, Happy Purim.